where there's going to be, depending on how you feel, depending on your energy levels, you can flirt with what works and you can intermix them up. But essentially, a seated or a walking exercise with the ability to take the walk faster or the breath hold longer if you want. So again, we're trying to play with chemoreception here and the sensitivity to carbon dioxide. So if you're feeling tired, if you've had a shit week, then a seated practice would probably be better, because how we breathe at rest will interact and in whatever the word is, into something when we're exercising. So you can do that. If you're feeling pretty good, you can then begin to go for walks with it. How fast you walk will be up to you. How long you hold and how much of a breath hold sensation you try to find will be up to you too. So yeah, that's kind of going to be where we're going. We're going to start though with our Bolt score. So again, you might just want to grab your not calculator, I don't know why I always say calculator. Grab your stopwatch. I mean, you can try and do it on a calculator by all means, but we're going to try to, we're just going to check our Bolt score, because actually your Bolt score should give you a rough idea of really, I mean, even you will have an idea of how you feel, but your Bolt score will probably give you an idea as well, because actually your CO2 tolerance Bolt score, I think I've previously said, actually is a precursor to your heart rate variability changing. So you've got about 20 to 24 hours of advance notice on your heart rate variability through your Bolt. So find your stopwatch, find a nice comfortable seated position that works best for you, and you're just going to relax. And when I say no, you can do it, then you'll take 3 more inhales, exhales, and on the 4th one you'll inhale, exhale, hold your breath until you get that first sensation of needing to breathe, at which point you'll release, and hopefully it should be a nice, calm, relaxed inhale. So allow yourself to feel settled, give everything bottom of the exhale. So it's a gentle, I can hold this forever, it's easy. So a gentle inhale in, gentle exhale out. Pinch nose, hold breath, or don't pinch nose, up to you. And then release when you feel the first urge. So just close the eyes, perhaps if that would feel comfortable, whatever is going to be the way to ensure that you can relax the most. And so we're not taking any agency over our breath right now. We are solely observing the breath. Slowly feeling into the side bodies. Noticing the jaw soften and relax, that breath just guides in and guides out. And then whenever you're ready, you're going to take those first 3 simple, gentle breaths, and on the 4th one, at the end of the exhale, you hold your breath. And you press start as soon as you pinch your nose or as soon as you close your airway. And when you do come to breath on, I'd suggest not watching the time. Try to do it without watching the timer, because sometimes you'll end up spending too much energy focusing on that. And then whenever you find you've finished, just take a nice big inhale in, and just sigh out the mouth, go. So you can find your own practice. Maybe we're going to do like 4 rounds of this. So you can either, in fact, I'd probably suggest we all just start sitting for the first round and just doing some little breath holds that actually make breath holding easier as time goes on, because we end up vasodilating and using the nitric oxide and the carbon dioxide. So first round, 3 minutes, where all we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, breathe out, hold the breath, feel an air hunger begin to build. Whenever you feel that is adequate, so it's going to be a medium kind of air hunger, nothing too challenging, you release 5 to 6 normal breaths through the nose, and then repeat. And we're going to do 3 minutes of that. Clear as mud? Wunderbar. So again, find yourself sitting comfortably. Find the inhale drawing in. Exhale out. Pinch the nose, hold the breath. And when you do this, where does your brain go? What do you start thinking about? Where does the panic, the worry start coming in? And then again, you then release. Take 5 to 6 breaths. If you feel like everything returns to normal before those 5 to 6 breaths, by all means dive in again quicker. Take the 3 breaths perhaps. These first ones shouldn't be too stressful, so hopefully recovering to that stage will be relatively easy. And then whenever you find you've finished that 3 to 5 to 6 breaths, again, there's that gentle inhale in, soft and quiet, exhale out. Pinch nose, hold breath, or just close the throat. Hold that breath in, try to relax around it. Allow the shoulders to soften, your eyes to relax, your temples to feel gentle. The belly to stay soft. And whenever that urge begins to build, we just then release and inhale. We exhale. And again, 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 breaths. See what challenges you. On the next time through, it's going to be another seated round, but we're going to try and perhaps if you want to make it harder, you don't have to, you can carry on with what you're doing, but we can increase the challenge if that is something that you feel is needed within your practice. If this feels super easy, just even if something feels easy and you're finding that moderate air hunger, and then you can release and find the breath to be really gentle and calm and smooth and soothing. This is still going to downshift light and down-regulate the whole body. It's going to allow much greater vasodilation, much greater bronchodilation, so that the next round becomes easier. You've just got another kind of 30 seconds, so that might be one more breath hold, that might just be you finish this one and recover. And then whenever you finish that final round, just again, without taking too big a sigh, take quite a double inhale in, kind of go, and then exhale slowly out through the nose. So repeating that, but now rather than doing inhale, exhale, hold, release 5 or 6 breaths, you're going to try, if you feel comfortable, to do inhale, exhale, hold. Inhale, exhale, hold. Then at the bottom of that second hold, you'll then release, take the 3 to 4 to 6 breaths to recover. So you're suddenly not going to allow yourself as much time to recover. And again, it still should be super light and gentle and quiet breathing. It shouldn't be finish the first round and then you suddenly go and then finish, and then it should still be silent and quiet and soft. And so you're trying to, again, find that top-down control to not just suck in air. So whenever you're ready, again, find yourself. Hold it less time. Yeah. So basically at the moment, if you're finding that urge to breathe really strong with the time you're doing it, your chemoreceptors are just being triggered far too quickly. So just back off a few seconds, allow it to, you'll find that you won't suddenly get triggered so quickly. So then again, your nervous system response can be more quiet and relaxed, and then your chemoreception can then be retrained to a less sympathetic response, essentially. Otherwise, if you keep doing that big drawing of air in, that's just reiterating this sympathetic response within the body. Okay? So, again, so it might be, if that is the case, then you just stick with doing the one breath rather than going to the two. Alright, so again, if you feel comfortable, take the two. Relax, feel everything just drop away from your ears, and then we breathe in, we breathe out. Pinch, nose, hold breath. Soft everything. Face, jaws, cheeks, eyes, shoulders, hands, toes. If you feel comfortable, it's always on you. You can, when you finish that breath, you draw the breath in, you draw the breath out. You hold the breath again. So then again, you take those 5 or 6 breaths to relax. Once you've taken those 5 or 6 breaths, you then, if you're doing the double inhale or the double back-to-back breath, then you can begin to go back into that inhale, exhale, gentle hold. Inhale, exhale, gentle hold. And you can walk. Apologies. So you've got another minute of just this gentle in, out, hold. In, out, hold. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And so you can, if you're feeling comfortable, this next round that we're going to do is going to be a walking round. So again, if you don't feel comfortable, if you're struggling with this triggering effect, then you're going to stay with the seated. If you feel comfortable to go for a walk, you can then try this on the walk. And again, how many breaths you take in between will depend on how much your nervous system is triggering with this chemoreceptor response. Last 30 seconds. Oh. Thanks, Heather. I'm not sure how that muted. I've just been waffling to myself. So, I mean, like, Wibbs is never that fucking quiet. He's never that quiet for very long. I mean, it's all right. I'm fully aware that I talk shit a lot of the time. Cool. So I'd literally said, you've got 1 more minute, you've got 30 more seconds, but you didn't hear any of that. So that was basically the perfect time to come round out of that. What I was also saying was this next round will be, depending on how you feel. So Jen, if that was, I don't know how that felt that time, if it's still much the same, you'll continue with a seated practice. If you want to try to increase the workload a little bit, if that was feeling good, then what we're going to try to do is get rid of this bloody wire, sorry, and then you can then go for a walk, exactly the same thing, and you can make it as difficult as you like by what your recovery will be. You can stop after it, so it would be like this. So you can take the breath in, breath out, pinch your nose, go for a walk. You get that response to breathe, in which case you then stop, gentle breath in, gentle breath out, hold the nose, gentle breath in, gentle breath out, take 4 or 5 or 6 breaths, and then repeat. You could see how you feel, do the same, but rather than stopping to take your recovery breath, you just continue walking. So this would obviously be a harder version because you're still going to be creating a carbon dioxide. Okay, so your choice, stay seated, go for a walk, pause for your recovery or walk on your recovery, and then see how many steps and breaths you feel the need to take. So again, it's kind of like, where is your body today? Where is your mind today? How are you responding to any of this today? All right, so your choice, seated or standing and walking. Find your inhale in, find your exhale out. Go for a walk if you want to and hold the breath, or stay seated. Jackie's off, she's going to give it a go. Heather's off, yeah. And again, you can play, like I say, it really isn't like a competition with yourself or anybody else. It's just a case of trying to play that edge. I've kind of mentioned it before. You've got that bandwidth, imagining you've got headroom and you've got bottom room, and then can you push towards your limit? So with you guys with like post-viral fatigue type thing, we have to be careful that we obviously don't overdo it and overstress, but we have to find the balance of finding some stress to try to trigger the response, the adaptation within the body. And again, for you guys walking around, if you wanted to be challenging, your recovery is a continued walk. If you want it to be easier, you stop and you let everything relax. How fast you walk will increase the challenge. Last minute with this one. So as you begin to finish this last round, whether that be a seated or a walking hold, again, then you can just let everything relax. It's going to take about a minute and a half just to fully relax. So perhaps you want to sit down, perhaps you want to stay standing, see it works. Jackie, how did you find that? Was that a challenge or was that okay? Cool, nice. Okay, cool. So like I said, like now, like you're watching again, it's like this headroom idea. So it's like this, and you're just constantly trying to play, not letting stuff get too low, because obviously if shit gets too low, you get into like this freeze side of like stuff, and it's very kind of, that's that kind of depressive, can't get out of bed type thing, can't go, but if you go through the top, then you end up blowing your lid and everything feels like shit. So trying to, as you say, back off a little bit to allow more to happen can be a nice kind of balance of not just challenging one round, but actually backing off to allow multiple rounds to begin to happen, can then begin to build some endurance style of things. Cool. So we're going to do one more round. Now again, your choice as to how much you want to challenge stuff. You could potentially try to do 3 back-to-backs if you want to give it a go, or more. See what happens. Just know, a bit like what you did, Jackie, play with that edge, so it's kind of like, too much, back off, but I can do a second round. If I stay with that, I can do a third round. If I stay with that, it's actually too much and I can't do a fourth round. Cool, so then I'll walk and relax and recover, or I'll stand and relax and recover. And then use that recovery to kind of readjust, reevaluate, reassess what you just did. And then how can I play with those parameters, the heuristics, to try to make it work. Simple. Cool, so take another 30 seconds to recover, and then again walk or sit, and then give it a bash. And remember, as you go for a walk, when you do, the more you can relax your whole body, your face, your jaw, your cheeks, your shoulders, the less stress you're putting through your system, the less quickly, is that right, is that bad English? The slower the response will be to the carbon dioxide. So, whenever you're ready, go for a stroll. It's a 5-minute stroll if you're strolling, or a 5-minute walk. And perhaps, in a way, like Jackie said, you can back off the amount of holding time that you're doing to make more rounds accessible, or you could end up backing off the holding time by increasing the speed, or the how much effort you put into your walk. So, you know, you could do stupid things like swing your arms about more forcefully. Take on a slightly Monty Python-esque Ministry of Funny walks. Something which will mean more bodily tissues have to work, means that the response to carbon dioxide will be quicker because we're burning more, using more tissues. Is it just one breath you're doing? So for, Jen, for example, it might just be while you're walking, you're just going to play that single round, then a stop, and a recovery 5 or 6 breaths. Perhaps, Heather, you're feeling alright and you want to do 3 or 4 rounds. Inhale, exhale, hold. Inhale, exhale, hold. And the whole time you're walking, that might be something which is nice and good for you. It might be something which puts you over the edge and is too much too quick. So we're over halfway through. Remember, just because we're coming towards the end, don't let your ego start to get in the way. Don't feel like you need to push it harder at the end. There's no difference really between the end and the beginning. The only difference will be with the levels of breath holds that you've been doing, that technically you should be beginning to find breath holds marginally easier, perhaps even slightly more than marginally. If those air hungers are beginning to get a little bit longer, with still some control, you might find that you'll begin to find a splenic contraction. You won't feel that, but your spleen might be beginning to get called into action because your body's being told there isn't enough oxygen around if we're managing to get that SpO2, your oxygen saturations level, to drop just a little bit. Just another 90 seconds, probably realistically, maybe 4 rounds, maybe 5, depending on your recovery time. So into the final minute. But can that breath hold be gentle? Can that inhale be relaxed? Final 15, 20 seconds. So whenever you find you're finishing your final round, allow yourself to come back over. How'd you manage, Jen? All right? Cool. I mean, and the thing is about this, it will end up being a like getting to know yourself better. And so this is where trying to do the little bit we did at the beginning, so if for want of a better word, the breathe light bit, where we were just trying to sit and we were just observing the breath, not trying to take any agency over it, not trying to do anything, you're just being able to breathe as lightly and softly as possible. And so that will begin to create air hunger, so you'll begin to notice where it creeps in and where it doesn't, and how you can then speed it up and slow it down. And the more you try to just have an awareness of the breath more than controlling it, allows for kind of a greater kind of voluntary understanding of your body's response to an air hunger, to a fast breath, to a hyperventilated breath. And you can kind of begin to see how each one kind of is responding to that. How do you feel, Heather? Yeah, feel all right? You were definitely hopping up and stomping off pretty quick, so. Nice. So, I mean, I don't know, like Heather, how you're kind of getting on with bits and pieces, but like, you know, if you are ever out and about and you're kind of wanting to try and get back into, obviously I know you're kind of, the idea of getting back into exercise and stuff is pretty good. Obviously, again, it's kind of finding balance, but being able to, when you're out and about and trying to do that exercise when you're out walking. So even if you're just going for a walk, like you're, I don't know, walking into town, doing anything, I mean, this goes for any of you, but like being able to do that like every day, like you're going, right, I need to walk there, I'm going to do this, and just try to put it into a practice of, I'm going to do one breath hold every minute or 90 seconds. I'll just walk, inhale, exhale. No one's going to know what I'm doing. I'm going to, at the bottom of my exhale, I'm going to hold my breath. Start to feel it. Keep walking, and then just ignore it for another minute and a half, and then do another round. Like, you know, I've said before, but I was having a conversation with, on this week's podcast, just come out with an ex-rugby player, professional rugby player. We were talking about breathing, and I never run, I never do anything, and yet I've managed to increase my ability to run for prolonged periods of time when I do go for a run by never running, by just walking and doing breath holds. So my ability to tolerate the response has gone up purely just by walking and holding my breath. So to build that kind of, that tolerance there where there isn't that immediate response, you can do that just solely by walking without having to get to run, so that when, you know, your energy levels are up and you're feeling more in that, you know, oh, I feel pretty good right now, the idea of then getting out and going for a run should be much more comfortable, because you've already like been spending the time doing the work seated and walking. So it's kind of like we did in this practice. The seated is like stage one, then we went for a walk, then eventually we'd go for a run. And you know, being able to run with a breath hold as well will then obviously push this to the next degree, but we don't need to worry about that at the moment. But just knowing that the previous one, so the sitting, is going to have a massive effect on the walking. The walking will then have a massive effect on exercise as well. And so yeah, trying to play with that would probably be a sensible idea, I would suggest. Yeah. Yeah. Again, so it's the same kind of idea. Like Monday's class, I basically did like a slow flow. We didn't move fast. We didn't do any really crazy strong poses, but we just held them with a breath hold. So, for instance, we did a whole bunch of like goddess pose type thing. We kind of did this, hold the breath, and all of a sudden these muscles are working so hard that, or they're just working to hold you up with the breath hold. But what will actually also happen is with that breath hold, carbon dioxide will creep up, and so those muscles and tissues will learn to be more efficient, and so they won't drain energy as quickly in the long run. So at the moment, in the immediacy, which is why one of the reasons we get you to begin to walk around, those muscles will be building hydrogen ions, you'll get that lactate building up, and then you are basically triggering your body to respond quicker, to clear that out as soon as you then start breathing again. So therefore you get this quicker and quicker recovery. It just means that doing minimal doesn't hang around in your system for ages, so therefore you can recover quicker, and then hopefully in your guys' situations you don't end up with, you know, for whatever reason, you know, it's all a bit up in the air still, but for whatever reason this kind of exhausted feeling can hopefully reduce quicker and quicker. Again, if you haven't, I don't know if you want to, I waffle fucking far too much in these half an hours as it is, but I did speak to my teacher Patrick McEwen on last week's podcast about long COVID a little bit. So he's pretty much like, he's probably like the main guy as far as like breath work for the last 20 years or so. So you know, that might be interesting if you haven't listened to it yet, to have a little listen to Patrick. And I'd probably suggest listening to him on anything. Obviously my podcast first, because then I get the little listen. But after that, he's like just super interesting and super knowledgeable. So and he's done quite a lot of talk about kind of COVID and the like recently as far as breath work is concerned. So you might be able to learn something. Cool. Happy? Ecstatic. Wonderful. Cool. Alright guys, well if any of you want to come back and do more breathing, I will be breathing tonight. I can't quite remember what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll have a look at what I did last week and to remind myself, but then yeah, they'll be breathing for 20 minutes tonight from 8:10 if you want to do more. So if not, I will see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Thanks guys, lovely to see you all. Bye.